Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer Zarate and you're watching CRN TV. I'm joined by Nerdio CRO Joseph Landes, who's here to tell us why for managed service providers, it's worth thinking about moving to the cloud with Microsoft Azure. Thank you for joining me today, Joseph.
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer.
Well, it's great to have you on. So why should MSPs make the move to the cloud with Microsoft Azure?
Well, MSPs really should be considering moving to the public cloud with Microsoft Azure. Microsoft just announced that they grew their Azure business 48%. So if you're an MSP who's not grown your business 48%, you should seriously consider moving to the public cloud with Microsoft Azure. And at Nerdio, our mission is to empower MSPs to build successful cloud practices in Microsoft Azure and help you on that journey.
So we've heard building a cloud practice in Microsoft Azure can be somewhat of a daunting task. Can you talk about some of the challenges MSPs are facing today?
There's three that I could think of. The first is that most MSPs don't have someone in their practice who knows how to architect and manage an Azure solution. So they'd have to go hire someone with that skill and bring them into their practice, which would be expensive. MSPs also say that they've looked at Microsoft Azure and it's quite challenging and complex for them. And finally, MSPs say they're concerned about the whole pricing model around Microsoft Azure. It's a consumption-based model, and they're used to a fixed cost model where they go buy a server and they know exactly what it's going to cost. But in the consumption economy, you charge your customers based on how much they consume. So MSPs feel that's a challenge because they can't get their heads around how much to charge their customer per user per month.
Now, what role does Nerdio play in helping MSPs address some of these challenges?
Well, we've got an unbelievable product that we work with thousands of MSPs around the world on. It's called Nerdio for Azure, and we've made investments in 4 primary areas to help MSPs build a successful cloud practice in Azure. The first is we help you deploy a complete IT environment in Azure in an automated way in just a few hours. We help you demystify the pricing around Microsoft Azure so you know precisely what your cost is going to be to purchase Microsoft Azure. We help you with the ongoing management with our Nerdio admin portal so that you could accomplish any task you want to accomplish in managing your customer in 3 clicks or less. And finally, we help you optimize the environment with auto scaling, where you have the ability to easily turn off and turn on Azure resources to save you money on Azure consumption. That's what Nerdio for Azure is all about.
So tell us, what are some ways MSPs can make money with Microsoft Azure?
Well, I'll give you 3 ways, and I'll give you a bonus way for CRN TV. So the first way is an MSP should become what's called a CSP reseller. They should go to their favorite cloud distributor and say, I would like to purchase Microsoft Azure from you, and you will save money off of the pay-as-you-go or list price of Azure. The second way to make money is to sign up for something called Azure Reservations or Azure Reserved Instances, where you can reserve a specific amount of compute through your cloud distributor and get up to a 57% discount off of the list price of Azure. The third way is by leveraging an incredible licensing program from Microsoft called Azure Hybrid Benefit, where you could take the on-premises Windows Server cores that you've already purchased and bring them into the cloud so you don't have to pay for Windows Server running in Azure again. And here's your 4th bonus one. Use Nerdio for Azure. Use our automation platform where we have built-in sophisticated auto scaling to, again, help you turn off and turn on, to expand and to shrink Azure resources to save you money. If you follow those 4 recommendations, you could save between 60 to 80% off of the list price of Azure, and you could turn that savings into an incredible offer for your customer and incredible margin expansion opportunity for you.
I'm now joined by Decision Digital founder and CEO Richard Harber, who says Nerdio has been instrumental in their move to the public cloud.
We were early adopters of data center and what would become cloud technology, right? And we went out to our customers and talked about the necessity to move them away from relying on their office as the center of the universe, right? Well, as time went by, and we continued to kind of proliferate in that area, we started to realize that there was going to be a diminishing return. And here's what I mean by that. At some point, we were going to have to start going through and ripping out servers and replacing them with new ones. Hardware, firewalls, like switches, all those kinds of things, right? For an MSP, that's a pretty big capital expense. We were coming up on, about a year ago, that cycle starting to take place. We have hundreds of customers, we have a lot of servers. We were staring down a pretty significant investment in order to get ourselves not just where we needed to be, but ahead, right? And so as we started to consider what that was going to look like, we came to the realization that the cloud service providers out there, in particular Microsoft, had matured and become robust enough where we should give them a second look and consider moving our house from where it was right into the Microsoft data center, taking advantage of their capabilities, offering our customers a higher quality of service. More importantly, also getting away from that demon around the corner of capital expense that we were constantly facing.
So Richard, talk about the benefits you're finding in partnering with Nerdio to implement Microsoft Azure.
So the partnership with Nerdio enabled us to get into Azure a lot quicker than we originally thought. They had tools and front-end capabilities that enabled us to properly quote, predict what the cost was going to be, enable people to get onto the platform, and for us to do many of the things that it would have taken us months to learn, or we would have had to click in 1,000 places in order to be able to do it within the Azure environment. They shortened the distance between those on all those levels and really enabled us to get into Azure much more rapidly than we would have ever been able to do so on our own.
What features of this automation platform do you find most impactful for both your business and customers?
Very good question. Visibility into what our customers are doing, being able to onboard the customers rapidly through adding user accounts or having readily available desktops where we can just move them right into the system. Perhaps the biggest and most important thing, having really clear visibility of backups, making sure that those are operational, they're happening at the intervals they are supposed to. And finally, just being able to regulate what the customers are doing in terms of the resources they're using in Azure. Remember, Azure is kind of like getting into a taxi. The meter is always running. We have tried to, like other MSPs, make it into something that is flat rate. Having visibility and knowing when they're stepping over a line gives us the ability to pull it back in line to make sure that our customer doesn't have a runaway bill.
And what growth are you seeing with Nerdio for Azure?
So I can tell you that in March of this year, our spend in Azure with Microsoft was zero. Right now, we're 6 months later, 7 months later. We're north of $25,000 or $30,000 a month. So it's been significant growth, and it's not slowing down, not by any means. I can say with absolute integrity and assuredness that we could not have monetized ourselves and what we're doing with our customers nearly at that pace if we didn't have the tools that Nerdio offered. It's just pure and simple that we didn't know enough, we couldn't have learned enough. We probably would still be clicking around inside of Azure to bring our first customer on if we didn't use the Nerdio interface.